Hi, gorgeous people, and welcome to Politics Made OK. I'm gonna need this just later. It has been a week. Millions of us, including myself, are still in lockdown. We're also getting unsolicited text messages from political parties, and we had a 2-day summit to lay bare how women and their children are abused, and how that's, well, bad. I'm not exhausted, you're exhausted. It's all a bit grim, but as promised, I am going to try and make things okay on this week's show of PMO. Can I have that beer now? So, this week started with this really important event called the National Women's Safety Summit, which was the first of its kind and brought together all kinds of people, from people in government, business, advocacy groups, and so on. The aim was basically to put together priorities that were going to go into our national plan to reduce violence against women and their children. We already have a plan. Actually, we've had 4. But we'll need a new one next year, and this summit is going to inform that. So this is all really good, right? Sure, except for one thing. Why do we need a 35-page national plan to tell us that violence against women and their children is bad and shouldn't happen? It's just that it's 2021, you know? Women can vote, we've got jobs, hell, some of us are CEOs. And yet, 1 woman a week dies from violence at the hands of her current or former partner. Just really let that sink in. There's a sense of shared anger at these summits or at the putting together of these national plans, because the focus is always on how women can protect themselves and report it and escape situations of violence. Because isn't this sort of about, well, I don't know, getting men to stop abusing and killing women and their children? The country's peak body that actually works with perpetrators told me we've kind of got to flip the whole thing on its head. Chief Executive Jackie Watt told me,
we need to do more to work with perpetrators if we're going to end this cycle. Is it possible to get in there at the very first signs of violence? And that can often be before a call has made to 000 or the police.
Now you might think I'm being a bit passionate about this issue, maybe a bit intense, but that's really okay, because I've been called a lot worse. A few months back, the West published one of the things people were calling its female journos as a bit of a stuff you on International Women's Day. And I now wear it as a bit of a badge of honour. Cheers, mate. The other scary thing we heard from the summit is that things don't get better with age. The Age Discrimination Commissioner, PATTERSON, told us that the Elder Abuse Hotline had seen an increase in calls between November last year and April this year of 99%. She also revealed that women over 55 are the fastest growing cohort for homelessness. And just to really creep you out and keep you up at night, the E-Safety Commissioner revealed that kids' toys were being bugged by violent ex-partners to, you know, spy on their mothers. So I guess we can't even trust like teddy bears or like pillows. Now the Prime Minister actually did address this summit, and this is what he had to say.
Right now, too many Australian women do not feel safe, and too often they are not safe.
Well, you got that right, mate. I remember when ex-staffer Brittany Higgins alleged in February that she'd been raped in Parliament House. Yep, my place of work. And yeah, that really freaked me out, and heaps of other women in Parliament. I actually asked security a bunch of times to walk me to my car after dark. So yeah, we don't feel safe. Now, Brittany herself actually responded to the Prime Minister's speech, but she wasn't too happy. She said, "While I respect the Prime Minister Scott Morrison's ambitious spirit for the National Women's Security Summit 2021, I just can't match this government's actions with the platitudes and warm sentiments they are all extending today." So what did she mean by that? Well, the most recent action she's probably referring to is the government passing these laws called the Sex Discrimination Respect at Work Amendment Bill 2021. Now this bill put into law 6 of 55 recommendations in the Respect at Work report, which was written by Sex Discrimination Commissioner Kate Jenkins. This new law makes sexual harassment a sackable offence. It also does things like give a longer window to victims of sexual harassment to report an incident after it's happened. But critics jumped on the fact that only 6 of the 55 recommendations have been put into law. Now that's not totally accurate, because not all 55 recommendations actually require legislation. Some of them recommend things like more data to be collected, Still, all up, there are 12 recommendations in the Respect at Work report that do require legislation. The key one of those that's missing from this bill that's been passed is for positive duties to be enforced. Now, this means that rather than employers being accountable just for how they respond to a complaint, they're responsible actually for preventing sexual harassment. To really put this clearly, Kate Jenkins said it is shocking to realise that the only law that currently explicitly prohibits sexual harassment, the Sex Discrimination Act, contains no obligation for employers to prevent sexual harassment. Other people like Grace Tame, this incredible woman who was made Australian of the Year, were also critical of how the government responded to that report. She and Brittany Higgins actually met on Monday night and tweeted out a photo with a bit of a spicy comment. They said that they were holding their own safety summit. Queens. I think Grace actually described this whole summit really well. She said, "I don't believe this government has earned the authority to inform us on the safety of our nation's women and children, but this is an opportunity for them to listen and learn. If they do, and swift action is taken accordingly, there is great potential for change to follow." So I guess we just wait and see about that swift action. Well, we are still waiting, and I get the feeling we'll probably be waiting a little while yet. Now, since I've got you all riled up already, let's move on to something else I know you're all pretty angry about. That's right, I'm talking about the unsolicited text messages from the United Australia Party. Yep, that one telling you not to trust anyone but the UAP and its two top dogs. And those top dogs are, of course, Clive Palmer and Craig Kelly. Now, I know the questions that you're asking. How did they get my number? And how is this legal? Well, starting with the second question, political parties have been conveniently left out of this thing called the Spam Act. Yep, that's a real name of a real law. Basically, that stops unsolicited text messages from almost everyone, except, you guessed it, political parties. The Australian Communication and Media Authority confirmed it was aware that people were getting these texts and were mad about it, but also that it just wasn't against the law. The last time a party used this tactic really famously was in the Medi-Scare campaign. You know, telling you that if you vote for the Libs, Medicare will be out the door. That's right, even Labor does this. So, it's not illegal, but how do these parties even get your number? Well, there's a few ways, but the common one is that they bought it. Yet again, I know what you're thinking. I never gave my number to some creepy data agency. No, but you have given your details a bunch of times over the internet and to companies. All those sites and companies sell that data to one of those creepy agencies, which in turn sells it to a political party like the UAP. Once more, I know what you're thinking. I never agreed to that! Actually, you probably did. You know all those pesky terms and conditions at the bottom of websites and stuff? Ever read them? Yeah, well, the majority of them have in those terms and conditions that that site or company might share your data with a third party. That's right, the creepy data agency. And for the final time, I know what you're thinking. Well, you might be wondering if this tactic actually works. A lot of experts say no, not if you want to win seats. The thing about the United Australia Party is they don't necessarily want to do that, even if they won't say so. Palmer has influenced the outcome of an election before, just last time. He flooded the market with so much advertising and stuff that it actually was one of the reasons that Labor lost the unlosable election. And the United Australia Party's ad that says that it's got already 40,000 new members, it doesn't actually define what a member is. It could be just someone who's said, yeah, sure, I'll get your emails. So as always with the United Australia Party, take it with a pinch of salt. And that brings us to the end of this week's episode of Politics Made OK. I hope you've enjoyed the show, which of course has been brought to you by this man-hating feminist who's been given free rein. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, follow me on socials, and catch me next week on PMO.